Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to our coffee times to talk about horror. And today I'm so excited because I have ready my TBR for April for Old School April.
It's coffee time!
So every year I like to participate in Old School April because, it's just so much fun. The hosts are fantastic, the proms, the activities. There are so many things that you can do and they put so much work into it. So if you have never heard about this readathon, I'm gonna leave the announcement video down below that is done by Kelsey from Slime and Slashers. And there's many co-hosts that have book recommendations and everything you will need to participate. Now I took a look at all of the prompts. I actually have printed the printables and I have them on a little notebook and I'm ready. There are 45 different reading prompts, and then there are also prompts for watching movies, for activities and everything like that. So I'm gonna try my best to accumulate as many points as I can for my team. And I was really debating because there are 4 different teams and they all sounded so good, and I was really torn between 2, which were Candyman and Beetlejuice, but I decided in the end to join Beetlejuice because, the last year Beetlejuice coming out, and I don't know, I feel like more in the mood for Beetlejuice, so I decided to join that team. Now, with so many prompts, like 45, it's insane. Obviously, you have to try to combine as many prompts as you can. So I have compiled a list of 10 books that are gonna get me almost all prompts, and a lot of them are going to be double, so you can double. Let's say if you read 3 books over 300 pages, you get 1 point per book, so you would get 3 points for the same prompt. So it's very easy to get points for your team if you plan correctly. So all of the books that I'm going to be talking about today fulfill at least 7 prompts, some of them even 16 prompts in just one book. This way I'm trying to make it easier for me when it comes to the reading, because I also picked books that are not too long so that I can always add more books. And I'm not counting audiobooks, which I think at least I would listen to 1. So I decided to make just a simple list of 10, and then I can always add to that list depending on my mood and depending which audiobooks I feel like listening to. So I just wanted to make my life easy, but also making sure that I get as many points as I can for my team. So let's take a look at the 10 books that I plan to read for this readathon. There's only 2 that are a little bit thicker and the rest are small books. So I'm hoping that I will be able to read at least these 10. The first one is an ARC that I got at Yalk last year and I have been really wanted to give it a chance, and that is the Dead Soul Project. So this is basically book 1 in a series that is called The Night House Files, and it is by Dan Smith. And this is supposed to be, kind of like X-Files, horror sci-fi. And I won this ARC and it just came out, I think, February this year. So I really want to get to it. This takes place in 1977. So I think that's a very interesting setting because this book, it is for younger readers. It is for 11 years plus. And I don't think there are so many books for younger readers that take place in the 70s. Kyle and Lauren think that their stepdad, who is a soldier, has been killed in battle. But then he returns one day home, but he is terrifying and changed. One day later, a virus seems to be spreading throughout the building where they live, and it might be a deadly virus. So the investigation begins. Now, this book has mixed media in it as well, and it looks like it's going to be very easy to read. So that's one of the reasons as well why I picked this one up. And it does fulfill a lot of the prompts for the readathon already, which is great. So I think this probably is going to be the book that I'm going to start the readathon with. I'm also going to be reading Odd Spirits by S.T. Gibson. And this is a novella, so it's short, and this is the Waterstones special edition, and I want to read this one because I think this is a prequel, or it came before Evocation, but I think this was published back in 2018 and Evocation just came out, I think, last year, if I'm not wrong, like 2023, 2024. So I'm really curious to see what these characters are and how they connect to Evocation, but I really want to try Evocation. How many times am I going to say that name? And before I do want to read this one because it was published first and it is marked as 0.5 in the series, so I'm pretty sure that it's supposed to be before. And I'm really excited because this is magic and fantasy and it's something that I don't read as much anymore, but you guys know that Esther Gibson has been an author for me that has worked really well with A Diary of Blood and An Education in Malice, so I'm really excited to try her more fantasy series. Also Ascension, which is book number 2, is coming out this year, I think in July, so my hope is to read this one and Evocation soon so that I am ready for when book 2 comes out. The series, by the way, is called The Summoner's Circle, and I do think even though it's about magic, it's gonna be dark because knowing the author, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be dark, so that's kind of like my hope. And look at the characters. I mean, look at these end pages. I need to read this. Look at them. Look at them fighting in battle with magic. Absolutely gorgeous. We follow Reese and Mora. So he is a modern ceremonial magician and she is a tarot witch. And there are some evil entities that are going to appear in their home and they're gonna have to fight, and also by fighting together these entities they're gonna have to try to make their marriage and their relationship survive at the same time. So I think there's going to be a romance in here, which is something that I expect from Esther Gibson. If you've read her other books that I've mentioned before, I think you can expect that combination of a really dark theme and romance, so I'm really excited for this, not gonna lie. Next, I wanted to pick a book by an author that I really enjoy, and I am still working through his published works because he has many books published, and that is Richard Lehman. So I'm gonna be reading Fiend, and I don't know much about this book, but it was one that kind of helped me fulfill some prompts so I decided to pick this one, and I don't remember when is the last time I read a Richard Lehman book, so I'm really excited to dive into this one. If you are curious about Richard Lehman and you were considering to pick up one of his books, just keep in mind that normally all of his books have all the content warnings. And they are very extreme and yeah, they are very disturbing, so just make sure to check if there's something that you're not really looking for. Marty goes to the movies, she's on a date and she's really excited about it, she's really happy, having a good time, when she realizes that just behind her is a guy who raped her 10 years ago. He is officially out of jail and this douchebag called Will is out to get Marty. Probably because obviously he's in jail for what he did, but I mean, that's your own fault, buddy. Like, you cannot blame anybody else but you. So anyway, that's all the synopsis that they gave you. So it's kind of like, okay, so what's gonna happen now? Is it gonna be kind of like a cat and mouse game? Is he going to be hunting her down to the end of the world? Is she gonna have help defending herself? Is this gonna be like an epic battle between them two that's gonna turn really bloody really quickly? So I don't know, I'm excited, but obviously you already heard what the book is about, so there's your first huge content warning there. And yeah, I'm hoping that I'm gonna enjoy it as I have enjoyed his other books. Every year there are prompts that ask you to read like a Fear Street or a Christopher Pike book and a Goosebumps book, so the next books are to fulfill those prompts. First we have Bury Me Deep by Christopher Pike. This is one of the few by him that I haven't read, and it is relatively short because the other ones that I own by him are a little bit bigger, and I am intrigued about this one. It fulfills a couple of the prompts, so I decided to go with this. Jean is on her way to a vacation to Hawaii and she's really excited, but the vacation like kind of starts in a gruesome way because the boy that was sitting next to her in the airplane chokes and dies. Like, that's horrifying. Jean tries to push the incident out of her mind when she gets to Hawaii, but obviously it's something that stays with her and is haunting her. Part of why she can't forget about it is because this boy called Mike comes back to her dreams and she has like very vivid bloody dreams about it. When she gets to the hotel, she meets her friends and then they meet two boys and they want to go scuba diving with them, and everything seems to be fun and games until it isn't, and they find something under the sea, under the water. They find a body. So I don't know what to expect from this one because the last Christopher Pike book that I read was not a favorite, so I'm hoping that with this one I'm gonna go back to really enjoying his books. And as always, we need to read a Goosebumps book, so I searched through my collection because I wanted desperately to find a book with food on the cover because it's really complicated to know if a book is gonna have food like in the story, but I found a Goosebumps book with food on the cover so that I could fulfill that prompt, and that is My Best Friend is Invisible. And I love this cover. Just look at this animal and the food, the flying pizza is so cute. We follow Sammy. He's very interested in ghosts and science fiction, and it's something that his parents don't really approve of or like because they are real scientists, so of course they don't want to have a son that believes in things like ghosts. But then one day Sammy realizes that there is something living with him inside of his room, something or someone that seems to be invisible. So it's going to be just a fun, quick, cheesy read probably, but I'm really excited for it because I don't read Goosebumps really throughout the year. I don't know, I kind of forget that I have all of these Goosebumps books. So at least when Oldschool April comes around, I have an excuse to pick them up. The next book I picked also because I was desperately looking for something with music, either in the cover or in the story, and I found this mystery thriller that I actually just picked up from the secondhand store like a week ago. So I haven't even hauled it yet, but I remembered that it had an instrument on the cover. And this is called Some Lie and Some Die by Ruth Rendell. I've never tried the author before, but the secondhand store had some of her mystery thrillers, so I picked them all up because they were very cheap. This is about a mutilated body that is found at a rock festival. This is, I think, your typical detective mystery thriller, and I think this is number 8 in the series, but I've said this before, I don't mind to pick this one's up out of order. The neighbors were worried about this festival because, you know, rock festivals have a bad reputation. This book is also written in the 70s, so also different times, and they thought, you know, oh, it's bad news, but the festival was, you know, developing successfully, everybody was having fun, everything was good, until a dead body was found. And that's when our detective will come around and is gonna have to try to figure out who killed this person, solve the case, solve the mystery. So I'm really excited about this read because I get to try a new author, but also it is a book from the 70s, and I'm always so curious about the writing style and the characters and everything if they are older books, like vintage books, because it was just a complete different era, so I'm really excited to see how this mystery goes. Alright, let me explain the next book now, okay? So one of the prompts is to read a Goosebumps knockoff, and I was trying to figure out which one I could pick from my collection, and I do have a couple of middle grade series that kind of could be applied to that, but I decided to go with one of the Creepers books because these are books from the 90s that kind of resemble Goosebumps, so I'm hoping that this one counts because that's what I picked it up. I do still plan on completing my collection and then do a full reading vlog where I read all of them together, so I would probably have to reread this one, but this is the one that could really fit this prompt, so I decided to just add it to the TBR. This particular one is called Ghost Rider by Edgar J. Hyde, and I picked this one to also fulfill the prompt of a book that it's about a writer, a book, or anything like that, so this is why I picked it up. Charlie is a young boy that is very talented when it comes to writing, but one day he finds that the words on the page of his notebook are not his own. Why are words appearing on his notebook telling a story that he has not been writing? And why is the headmaster at school so determined to get the notebook from him? So similar to Goosebumps, I'm expecting this to be fun and cheesy and just a good time, fast-paced read, so I will report back because I have not read one of these Creeper books yet. Okay, book number 8. So I was trying to see which prompts I still had unfulfilled to try to, you know, get to as many as possible, so I still had to find a book for the non-fiction category, and I decided to pick The Want Ad Killer by Anne Rule because I have been accumulating some non-fiction books and they're all true crime books. I also saw Alex from the Bookaboost talking about this book some time ago, and since then it has been kind of on my radar, so I feel like it's time for me to read it. This is obviously true crime, so it is a true story about a guy named Harvey that committed a really grisly crime, and he was actually convicted and he was supposed to be hanged, but thanks to a loophole, he wasn't. So he was free and he just kept hurting and killing women. So this is his story. Now, these type of true crime books, I know they're not for everybody because they can be very, very intense, and it's this type of books that truly will give you nightmares. Like if I read regular horror fiction, most of the time I don't really get nightmares, or the books don't always follow me, if you know what I mean, when I go to bed or when I leave the house, you know. But there are other books, like especially true crime or more intense horror books, that those will stay with you. I have other books by the author, but I decided to pick this one first because, like I said, it's the first one that I got recommended by the author. So I don't know, I'll give it a chance. So those are all the books that I currently have in physical form at the time of filming this video, because book number 9 is not published yet by the time that I am recording this, and that is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. That is, yes, the new Hunger Games book. When I started my booktube journey, you know, I read a lot of the popular books and I discovered the Hunger Games, and that has been and is still up to date one of my favorite YA series, and I really love the first 3 original books. And you guys know I hated the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I bought the book new, immediately got rid of it. It's not in my collection anymore, but I have hopes for this one. This is a prequel as well, but this one we follow Haymitch, who is one of my favorite characters in the book and in the movies. I love Woody Harrelson, so I have hopes for this. I have hopes that Suzanne Collins is going to make it all good. The year that Haymitch was a tribute in the games, it was a quarter quell year, which means that every district had to send double the tribute, so 2 boys and 2 girls for every district. So imagine the bloodfest, because you have double the people, but in the end only 1 can survive. Haymitch is having a good life. He's not overthinking about the games and he is spending time with the love of his life, but then, as destiny has it, he is chosen to be a tribute and to participate in the games. As the games begin, Haymitch assumes that everything has been set up so that he fails the games, but he's not going to give up that easy. And that's what we know. I'm really excited, also because this book, it is going to give us the games, because I felt like, you know, the Ballad of Songbird and Snakes was so boring and it was so slow and I couldn't care less about the characters. It was just not for me, and maybe it was because the games were not as present, I don't know, but I really have hopes for this one. I'm just praying at this point that it's not gonna be bad, because I really love Haymitch as a character a lot more than I love Snow, so I'm hoping guys. Pray for me. And the last book that I have chosen, I have it actually on my Kindle because it is a new release for 2025 and it does not come out until July. But when I was going through the books that I had on my Kindle that were ARCs, I really gravitated towards this one, so I decided this is the one that I'm gonna be reading also in the month of April. It's called How to Survive a Horror Story by Mallory Arnold, and this is adult horror, and as you can tell by the title, it's obviously something that would appeal to me. 7 authors enter a manor. Can they survive? I mean, this book was made for me. When a legendary horror writer dies, he's deceased, dead and gone, a series of other writers are invited to his mansion for the reading of the will. Of course, all the writers that have been invited, they hope that they're going to be named, that they're going to get some cash money or inherit something from him. They all have a connection with the deceased author. Instead, when they get there, they are locked in a room and they are told that they have to play a game. In order to move to the next room, they have to solve a riddle. And now, my friends, you know why I'm so excited to read this book. It just sounds perfect for me. This is all the tropes that I love into one. So basically, this is like an escape room kind of game, I guess, you know, because they are in a locked room, they have to solve a riddle to get to the next one, and if you don't, well, some people, you know, might perish. The house will be taking them down one by one. So it sounds really thrilling, very interesting. I also love, obviously, that the person that died was a horror author, so it, you know, the riddles and everything might be like horror themed. So I'm just like, I need to read this book, and I wanted to wait a little bit longer to read it because I'm aware it doesn't come out until July 2025, and I might be hyping this up for you guys and you have to wait until the summer, and that's so mean. But I just want to read it so bad, so I decided to put it on my TBR for April. And these are the 10 books that I have in my original, let's say, TBR pile for Old School April, and I'm hoping that I can get through all of them because there are many that are very short, and then I can always add other books, or probably I will add an audiobook because that's something that I can always do. And I'm really excited for this year. I want to try to also do as many activities as possible, but the month always goes by so quickly. And I don't know, I'm really excited to participate. Let me know down below if you are going to be participating as well, and if you are, let me know which team you have chosen. I hope that you enjoyed seeing the books that I plan to read for the readathon. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all as always in our next coffee time. Bye!